Before the new TV series premieres this April, The Testaments reveals how Gilead really begins to fall. In this episode, we break down the timeline, decode the book's hidden messages, and analyze what the series is about to show.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're here, you're looking for that shortcut, the clearest, most compelling distillation of complex material.
We turn that stack of dense articles and research into pure, usable knowledge.
We're your expert guides through the information jungle.
We filter the noise to deliver the context, the nuance, and those vital aha moments that truly make you well-informed without you feeling overwhelmed.
And today, we're embarking on a deep, deep dive into one of the most culturally significant literary events of the last decade.
Margaret Atwood's monumental sequel, The Testaments.
But this is way more than just a book report.
Oh, precisely. We are investigating how a narrative structure, the architecture of storytelling itself, becomes a potent political weapon.
Especially when it's aimed at dismantling a totalitarian regime like Gilead. So, our mission for you, the learner, is multi-layered. We need to unpack the novel's really intense narrative ambition.
And explore its deep philosophical questions about how power maintains itself and how history remembers tyranny.
Then, most crucially, we'll highlight the strategic differences between Atwood's literary vision and the rapidly approaching Hulu and Disney Plus television sequel.
And their source material is comprehensive. It covers the novel's structure, its shared Booker Prize win, the plot mechanics,
and extensive confirmed details about the TV series' accelerated timeline, the casting, and the plot shifts they had to make to translate an intellectual document into a cinematic experience.
Right.
And the central hook, the thread running through all of this, is the power of documentation in the archive.
The Testaments wasn't just a bestseller. It was critically validated, sharing the 2019 Booker Prize.
And underpinning every single word is Atwood's famous, chilling mandate.
She included nothing in her work that hasn't already happened somewhere in the world, at some point in history.
That mandate is so vital, it transforms her dystopia from, a simple work of speculative fiction
into a chilling, immediate meditation on human history, political vulnerability, and the constant battle between enforced silence and documented truth.
Okay, let's unpack this vast world and start with the literary foundation. It's one that carries the weight of, 34 years of expectation?
34 years. Just think about that for a moment. The Testaments was published in September 2019, 34 years after The Handmaid's Tale was released in 1985.
That gap is just staggering.
It is. It meant Atwood was returning to her most famous creation not just years later, but across an entire generation of cultural and political shifts.
The burden of expectation must have been immense.
Immense, but she succeeded. That shared Booker Prize win that same year really demonstrates that.
And the timing of the sequel's release, 2019, that was incredibly significant, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The original novel had experienced this massive resurgence in popularity and cultural relevance because of contemporary political events.
So when Atwood, who's already one of the most decorated contemporary writers, returned to it,
it wasn't just a commercial sequel, it was a major cultural and literary reckoning.
And let's not forget, she was already a Booker Prize winner back in 2000 for The Blind Assassin.
Right. She doesn't write sequels casually.
No, she writes them strategically.
And the novel is set approximately 15 years after the first book's main events. That temporal distance is a critical literary choice.
Why so critical?
Because it allows her to show a totalitarian state, the Republic of Gilead, that has solidified its power. It's no longer a new, volatile regime.
It's an entrenched one.
Exactly. And it's affecting multiple generations.
So the themes have to expand then. It's no longer just about the initial shock of oppression, which is really what defined the first novel.
Right. The Testaments explores the long-term mechanics of power, of political control, and the constant negotiation between oppression and agency for women who have only ever known this world.
And that pivot leads us directly to the significance of the title itself.
Yes. The title, The Testaments, is the key to the entire structural argument of the book.
It's fascinating how Atwood just stacks meaning here. It's not some nice-sounding title she picked out of a hat.
No, not at all. First, yes, it plainly refers to the testimonies, the three distinct converging accounts of events given by the central narrator.
Okay, that's the surface level.
But if you dig a little deeper, you realize this is a book about legacy. It echoes the idea of a final, authoritative declaration, the ultimate truth these women are determined to leave behind.
Regardless of the personal cost.
And And the deepest layer is the religious resonance, recalling the Old and New Testaments.
Oh, of course. Gilead's regime is founded on twisting and manipulating religious scripture.
So by calling her novel The Testaments, Atwood is suggesting that these three narratives, these quiet, secret voices of the oppressed, are the true sacred texts.
They're the documents that expose the religious hypocrisy and the corruption of the regime.
And they ultimately replace Gilead's false scripture with authentic, documented human suffering and resistance.
Yet structural choice, using three distinct female voices, is what breaks the narrative mold of the original.
Absolutely. The Handmaid's Tale was so intimate, so subjective, told through Offa June's constrained perspective. It was all about enforced silence and internal monologue.
But the Testaments just shatters that silence.
It does. By providing a multiple perspective history, it turns that private suffering into public, documented evidence.
And those three voices, when you lay them side by side, they give you a complete map of totalitarianism.
A map from the engine room to the output to the external threat.
You have Aunt Lydia, the insider, providing this complex, cynical view of the regime's infrastructure and its inner rot.
She is the machine operator who secretly knows where all the fault lines are.
Then you have Agnes, a young woman raised entirely within Gilead.
She embodies the chilling success of deep-seated indoctrination, the normalization of oppression.
She's the perfectly manufactured product of the machine. And finally, Daisy, who is completely free, living in Canada and representing the outside world.
And she provides that crucial external reference point for liberty that Agnes and Lydia have mostly lost or, never had access to.
So she's the disruptive external force needed to transmit the internal rot to the rest of the world.
By using this triple perspective, Atwood achieves something really remarkable. She shows that opposition to tyranny isn't a monolith.
It can be loud, quiet, strategic,
compromised, or inherited. It's the convergence of these different modes of resistance, the archive, the awakening, and the catalyst, that brings the whole system down.
That deep structural analysis naturally leads us to our second segment, the philosophy of authoritarianism.
Right.
Because to understand how this structure actually works, we have to look at the dark heart of the machine itself.
The concept of complicity that keeps the lights on in Gilead.
This is where Atwood transitions from just storytelling to political science.
Yes. She's arguing that authoritarian systems aren't just spectacles of cruelty, though that's certainly present. They sustain themselves on something much more insidious.
Participation, fear, and moral compromise. This is such a critical distinction, and we really need to dedicate time to it. If you think about history, the great majority of harm in extremist regimes isn't carried out by a few cartoonishly evil monsters at the top.
No, it's carried out by the ordinary people adapting to survive.
They enforce the rules, they look the other way, they accept the system to gain some minimal autonomy or to protect their families.
It's the compromise, those small, agonizing moral concessions, that forms the true infrastructure of Gilead.
And that mechanism is why the novel represents such a crucial shift from the enforced silence of The Handmaid's Tale.
Right. June was silent because she was externally oppressed. In the Testaments, the focus is on female voices, memory, and internal strategy.
The women here are active agents.
They are. They are historians, survivors, and disruptors, using their compromised positions to undermine the system from within.
Okay, so if that's the theory, let's zoom in on the ultimate embodiment of that theory, Aunt Lydia. I mean, how do we judge a character who is simultaneously a victim, a feared collaborator, and the architect of the regime's destruction?
That's the question that makes her one of the greatest literary characters of the century. Her moral ambiguity is the philosophical core of the novel.
And she was subjected to horrifying cruelty during Gilead's rise.
Horrifying. She was a judge, educated, powerful, and then she was tortured into submission.
So she became a powerful collaborator out of a calculated, cold choice to survive.
But, and this is the key, she used that immense power not for its own sake, but as a weapon of last resort.
She embodies the cold logic of long-term resistance.
Yes. She gains power by outwardly conforming. She is the face of loyalty to the commanders, but she uses that privileged position to secretly and painstakingly collect secrets.
Documents damning evidence of corruption, incompetence, hypocrisy.
All among the ruling class. Her internal plan isn't some hasty rebellion. It is destruction through documentation.
And her hidden manuscript, written in secret and hidden inside the wall of the library, that's the core artifact of the entire novel.
It is. She writes down Gilead's crimes over a decade and a half, knowing that if it were ever found, she would be executed immediately.
Which means the power of documents, the archive of truth, is the ultimate political weapon in this narrative.
Aunt Lydia, the one character who embodies compliance, spends years compiling the evidence that makes the regime intellectually and legally indefensible.
Her testimony is literally the document that brings down the government.
It connects directly to our focus on documents. I mean, why is a document more potent than a bomb?
Well, a bomb destroys things immediately, but it allows the regime to rebuild and create new martyrs.
Exactly. An archive, a testimony, it destroys the regime's legitimacy. It dismantles the official narrative of righteousness that every totalitarian state relies on. It's irreversible.
It reminds me of historical parallels. The meticulous documentation of war crimes, the secret diaries kept under oppression.
Those documents don't offer immediate salvation, no. But they guarantee that the truth survives the regime.
Aunt Lydia is committing an act of historical revolution. She's securing the end of Gilead long after she herself might be gone.
Now, if Aunt Lydia represents the strategic archive, let's look at Agnes.
Right. She represents the target audience of the regime's propaganda, the success of that deep-seated indoctrination.
She accepts the rules at first, without coercion. She lacks that tangible reference point for freedom that the outside world has.
And that's the horror of systems that last a generation, isn't it? The oppression just becomes normal.
But when she's faced with the system's brutality, specifically a first marriage she knows will strip her of any lingering autonomy, she makes a calculated, tragic choice.
She opts to become an aunt.
Which is such a sad, limited form of self-determination. She doesn't become an aunt out of piety,
but out of fear and a desperate bid for a little bit of power within a structure designed to crush her.
And this choice makes her moral compromise deeply revealing. She's trading her freedom for safety.
But the normalcy she relies on is shattered when she learns the truth.
That she was born outside Gilead and stolen as a child. That single fact, the knowledge that her life is founded on a lie, forces her transition from indoctrination to realization.
It externalizes the trauma.
And that trauma connects her instantly to Daisy Nicole.
The girl raised in freedom in Canada, completely unaware of her political significance.
Daisy embodies pure external resistance, but she discovers she is baby Nicole, a figure central to Gilead's propaganda machine and the object of their obsessive pursuit.
She becomes the catalyst.
She has the external perspective Agnes and Lydia desperately need. She is recruited by Maybay, the resistance group, and smuggled into Gilead
on the dangerous mission to retrieve Aunt Lydia's incriminating documents.
So Daisy is the physical bridge needed to move the archive of truth across the border.
Okay, I see. So Aunt Lydia provides the internal evidence and the strategy. Agnes provides the internal knowledge of the machine and the tragic face of its victims.
And Daisy provides the means of transmission. Their convergence is the mechanical operation of Gilead's documented demise.
And Atwood ensures we don't end on a simple, triumphant note.
No, the final pages shift perspective to centuries later, where academics are debating the testimonies and the fall of Gilead.
And that is the intellectual punch that transforms the novel from a thriller into a profound piece of literature.
It's so chilling because it raises doubts about the entire archive. The academic note reminds us that history is written by survivors.
Meaning interpretations shift over time.
And even the most horrific oppression can be misread, minimized, or, ironically, romanticized by the future. It questions the very reliability of the archive that Lydia risked her life to create.
It's a final meta-commentary by Atwood. The struggle for truth doesn't end when the regime falls. It continues in the historical record in the constant battle against revisionism. So if the book provides that chilling meditation on the fragility of memory and rights, the adaptation now takes that profound intellectual foundation
and translates it into immediate, actionable, emotional consequence.
And that transition brings us to the segment we know you've been waiting for, the one that needs the deepest expansion. The series adaptation and the critical timeline shifts.
This is where the literary canon and the television canon diverge dramatically.
And it's a necessary divergence, right? It's driven by the demands of visual storytelling and narrative continuity.
Absolutely. In the novel, the story is set a good 15 years after June's escape. Gilead is stable, entrenched, and decaying slowly from internal corruption.
But the TV series, which is confirmed to premiere in April 2026 on Hulu and Disney Plus here, makes a massive adjustment.
It's set only about 4 to 5 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale series finale.
That 4 to 5 year time jump fundamentally changes the stakes.
It has to. The series needs narrative continuity, regency, and the continued presence of June's emotional shadow.
Setting it 15 years later would necessitate a total emotional reset.
Keeping the gap short means the story is directly linked to the consequences of June Osborne's recent actions.
And we know from the original series finale that Boston and all of Massachusetts were liberated by May Day and the U.S. Air Force.
So Gilead isn't just decaying in the TV universe, it's actively unstable.
The immediate aftermath of that major territorial loss is what the sequel series will explore, rather than a totally solidified dictatorship.
And this accelerated timeline allows characters we already know intimately, like Aunt Lydia, to transition and evolve in real time on screen.
Instead of just recounting a strategy she executed years ago, which is what the book primarily relies on.
Yes. It turns her archive collection from history into immediate, ongoing conspiracy.
Let's talk about Aunt Lydia, played by the formidable Anne Dowd. In the book, she is retrospective, the historian documenting the past.
In the series, due to the short timeline, her moral ambiguity and transformation are explored in motion. She is the active strategist right now, trying to dismantle the machine while pretending to run it.
And the series is introducing a crucial, high-stakes mechanism that is only hinted at in the book's epilogue, but is now central.
The Pearl Girls. Dowd has confirmed these are ants in training who act as missionaries.
And Aunt Lydia is said to have created the program and dedicates herself to it.
Viewing it as a way to improve the standing of women within the twisted structure of Gilead.
Which immediately raises fascinating, complex questions about Gilead's global status. I mean, how are these Pearl Girls, these envoys of Gilead, able to travel internationally and recruit women?
It's a great question. The fact that Lydia views these women as volunteers suggests that Gilead is actively engaged in a public relations campaign. They must have successfully rebranded their image globally.
It begs the question, is Gilead leveraging the chaos or moral ambiguity of the outside world?
Perhaps by offering stability, safety from ecological disaster, or even perceived security for women who feel vulnerable elsewhere.
This is soft power being used by a tyrannical state.
And Aunt Lydia is orchestrating it, potentially using the Pearl Girls program as a vast internal intelligence gathering network under the guise of piety.
It's the internal paradox that will define her series arc. She's working actively against the commanders by collecting her archive.
Yet she is also working diligently to make Gilead function better in the eyes of the global community, or at least function in a way that provides perceived benefit to a specific class of women.
The adaptation focuses on this duality, transforming the archivist into the active, double-agent politician.
Now we turn to Agnes, known to viewers as Hannah, the daughter June fought so desperately to save.
In the book, Agnes is a quiet awakening, choosing the ant path as survival.
In the series, she's expected to be very rebellious, according to the show creators. This is a vital difference.
It has to be rebellious, doesn't it? The television audience has such a deep emotional investment in June and Hannah's fraught relationship. The adaptation can't just sideline that.
No, it can't. The TV plot will foreground her intense psychological conflict, her need to contend with the June within her, the fragmented, repressed memory of her mother.
The question of what Hannah truly remembers about June and Luke is a massive emotional driver for the TV plot.
She isn't just Agnes, the product of indoctrination. She is Hannah, the daughter of the resistance icon. The trauma of her identity, her stolen life, will fuel her rebellious nature much more actively than it did Agnes's internal struggle in the book.
And then there's Daisy Nicole, played by Lucy Halliday.
The timeline shift impacts her role significantly. In the book, she has a discovery narrative, slowly learning her identity as baby Nicole and becoming a courier.
In the series, Nicole is already a known political symbol across the globe.
Yes, the symbol of Gilead's corruption and the outside world's intervention. So she is not discovering resistance.
She has inherited resistance.
Exactly. Her arc is expected to be far more active and action-driven than her book counterpart. She is an immediate known factor in Mayday's efforts, likely trained and deployed specifically because of her legacy as a symbol of freedom.
She moves from being a narrative bridge to a frontline agent of disruption. This heightened pacing and scope inevitably changes the nature of the collapse itself.
Right. The book's collapse, as we analyzed, is quiet, archival, and caused by linked documents exposed centuries later.
It feels inevitable, not heroic. It's history as an artifact being revealed. It's intellectually satisfying, but it lacks that immediate spectacle.
The series, however, is a cinematic medium. It's built on immediate tension and emotional release.
So the collapse will almost certainly be shown directly.
With visible resistance, violence, spectacle, and emotional confrontation, it will be history as a lived, immediate experience.
The archive will still be the catalyst, but the consequences will be explosive and visual.
Yes, and this framework gives the adaptation the necessary space to address the multitude of lingering, high-stakes questions left hanging by The Handmaid's Tale finale.
The most immediate being the fate of June and Luke and the reunion with Hannah.
Elizabeth Moss, who plays June, is an executive producer, so she controls her character's presence. She was sly about cameos, but her comment that knowing the Testaments was coming was liberating for the finale.
That suggests June's fight. Her continued involvement with Mayday to rescue Hannah is the door for continued crucial involvement.
It's unlikely they will waste the emotional payoff of that family reunion early in the series.
It's the ultimate narrative prize.
It is. Instead, their efforts likely serve as the external engine driving Mayday's actions, ensuring that Daisy Nicole's mission and Hannah's internal awakening are constantly connected to the emotional core established in the first series.
We also have to consider the geopolitical state 4 to 5 years after the liberation of Massachusetts.
How much has Gilead shrunk? Has Mayday's success inspired other nations? Is the territory shrinking, yet the cultural influence is paradoxically growing through the Pearl Girls program?
The series needs to map out these new, complicated boundaries.
And let's not forget Serena Joy, played by Yvonne Strahovski.
She ended the original series as a refugee and a traitor to Gilead after giving intel to Mayday, even if it was self-serving.
She was once one of Gilead's co-founders and most revered faces. Her status in the sequel series is fascinating.
Is she now a globally infamous enemy of the state? Is she used as a cautionary tale in the Red Centers and wife schools?
Or, given her strategic intelligence, has she become a complicated, untrustworthy, yet valuable asset to the outside world's intelligence agencies fighting Gilead?
She embodies moral ambiguity outside the regime, just as Aunt Lydia embodies it inside.
Her reputation, displaced, powerful, with a target on her back, will certainly be explored. It'll potentially show how the principles of Gilead continue to trap even those who helped create it.
The confirmed new cast details also provide a great window into the series' deeper focus.
It's clear the adaptation is focusing on a new generation of performers, emphasizing the theme of legacy and succession within the oppressive system.
We hear about new characters like Shunammite, a high-status young woman.
And Aunt Vidala, described as a strict and ambitious aunt. This confirms that the show is dedicated to diving deeper into the nuances of female social hierarchy and education within Gilead.
So we'll see the mechanics of indoctrination that Agnes experienced, but now shone through the eyes of her peers.
It's expanding the focus beyond the handmaid-wife dynamic and exploring how the next generation of girls, the future ruling class, are being groomed and tested.
It's a complete widening of the view of the female ecosystem within the regime.
Yeah.
So we've covered the literary backbone, the philosophical mechanism of the state, and the cinematic translation. Let's synthesize the core insight before we leave you with our final thought.
We began by analyzing how Atwood used literary structure, 3 conflicting testimonies discovered centuries later, to question the very nature of documented truth and historical memory.
And the core difference, the one you must walk away remembering, is the separation of consequence and time. The book asks how history remembers tyranny.
History as an artifact, it's intellectual, retrospective, and focuses on documented decay.
But the series shows how tyranny breaks in real time.
History as lived experience. It is visceral, immediate, and focuses on the emotional consequences of that historical action playing out right now on screen.
The series trades the retrospective distance of the archive for the immediate emotional conflict of the resistance.
Right.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? Both versions of the Testaments, the book and the adaptation, provide a chilling, profound study on the fragility of rights and the power of memory over established political fact.
They show that whether you are reading a hidden manuscript or watching the fallout years later, the documented truth is the ultimate threat to any oppressive system.
So if the very act of meticulously recording the truth, the archive, the testimony, the quiet document, is the most revolutionary act available,
consider this provocative closing thought. We live in an age of constant documentation, but also constant misinformation and deletion. Who are the quiet historians documenting the compromises and crimes around you today, right now?
whose archive will define our current era centuries from now? And are we taking steps to protect their testaments before it's too late?
A vital question for a world drowning in data but desperate for truth.
Thank you for diving deep with us.
Until next time.
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast Your stories, your time.